Amber Heard and Johnny Depp issue statements after her explosive testimony. So where we are in the trial, Johnny, oh yeah, hit me, Nate.
No, I just wanted to say the fact that they're releasing statements mid-trial is a little concerning, because I would suspect the judge would be like, we shouldn't be making public statements until after the trial. It's one of the things that they tell you to do during trial. So this may get a little admonishment from the judge, but since both sides are doing it, it may not be as hard as a hit, but generally we don't see this. That's why this is kind of a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to me, I feel it kind of belittles the process a little bit. What you're going to see is like a very, I call it catty. That's not a gendered term for me. It's literally catty on this kind of stuff, where they're sniping at each other in a very teenage kind of way. And that's, I mean, this is the justice system. There's $150 million on the line. The Commonwealth of Virginia is spending enormous amounts of resources to make this happen, as are Depp with his legal team and Heard. And then it comes out and it belittles the process. I mean, it's hard. We're going to get to the meta articles. It's hard to look at this thing and say, well, people aren't taking it seriously enough when these are the statements that come out. And I agree with you. I think if anybody's going to get in trouble, it's probably going to be Depp. It seems like Depp's team issued a statement and Heard's team felt the need to respond.
Okay.
So I think if anybody gets in trouble, it would be Depp. But we're going to look at this. This is a totally neutral headline. Obviously, I don't have any issues with this. This is what happened. And then this is really about talking about what these folks say. So this is the pertinent portion of Depp's statement. And Nate, you can jump in and tell me what you think about these things as we talk about them. As Mr. Depp's counsel correctly predicted in their opening statements last month, Ms. Heard did indeed deliver the performance of her life in her direct examination. While Ms. Heard's stories have continued to grow new and convenient details, Mr. Depp's recollections have remained exactly the same throughout the 6 painful years since her first allegations were made. His truth, the truth, is the same no matter the environment in which it has been presented. So, yeah.
Now, the one thing about this is that, first, I think this has another layer to it. Remember at the beginning when Amber Heard fired her PR team? Mm-hmm. This is what the PR team was supposed to be doing, right? Giving out statements, massaging the narrative to make Amber Heard seem more sympathetic. And they failed horribly at doing that. And Johnny's PR team and his legal team did a great job of turning that, because online, all the public opinion, I think they did the last poll, something like 80% of people believe Johnny Depp. But now I think with her testimony, they saw like this crack starting to happen. Like, okay, Amber Heard's story is getting out. And I think this is his PR team trying to jump ahead of the story instead of just kind of sitting there like Amber's PR team, because Amber's PR team had to sit there and eat Johnny's testimony. And we didn't hear any statements from their side. But I think this is them trying to be proactive and trying to keep the PR narrative, because that's Johnny's, and that to me that shows me that's why I think that's why this is Johnny's true win. His win is the PR battle, and this kind of tactic is, I think, to try to keep the PR on his side.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, right? Because what we've talked about from the very beginning of this is that the defamation claim itself is, at least, however you feel about what's happening in the courtroom, it's at least a bit dicey. There's not a clear allegation that Johnny Depp is a domestic abuser. We've gotten to a place where it's implied enough that I can be satisfied with it as a defamation claim, I think. But there are other aspects of it that aren't so clear. And if you followed any of this, it's very easy to throw your hands up. It's very easy to look at it and say, okay, we got cocaine, we got MDMA, we got crazy things happening in Australia, all this stuff. They at very least seem to have a bad relationship. And it's going to be difficult to parse for specifics. Like at the end of the day, it will be. Now, do I think that they can, the jury? Yes, I do think that there's a chance that it's a defamatory statement. And
you got some bots in your chat. I don't know if you want to boot them or if you have any.
Yeah, so things I've never had to worry about before in my life. Bots in my chat.
That means you got over 500 people watching. How many people you got watching?
2,244.
There you go. Anything over 500, the bots will show.
All right. Well, then, Nate, since you are here, do you have any idea where the button is? I know Alita turns on subscriber only to get rid of them. Do you know where that button is?
Oh, for subscriber only?
Or if there's another way, I can't track it enough. Apologies. Welcome to the experiment, folks.
Well, hold on. Let me go into the chat and give me I'm going to type something in the chat. Just give me mod control and I'll kick.
Yeah, type it in. I'm gonna make you mod, definitely, Nate.
All right, I'm here. Hold on.
You mean I'm not supposed to be just mod free with no control over my chat at like 2,000 viewers? Guys, this is not what I do. All right.
All right. And then we're going to turn on subscriber mode to try to, so if they want to do it. All right. So that's me. I don't know if you see my little, hey.
I see you. Thank you. All right.
And then the 3 little, if you go to my name, there's like
I got you. I think I gave you the power like He-Man.
All right. OWER. No, I don't have the power. There it is. Now I have the power. Bots. I'm going to go kill these bots. All right, bots.
All right. I do appreciate it, Nate.
So I'm getting rid of them forever.
Okay.
So those bots are gone. Boom.
Do what you can.
All right. Now you asked me about subscriber only mode.
I don't even know how to do it if I had to.
So go to YouTube Studio.
Okay.
This is a tutorial on.
Welcome to a tutorial on how to get rid of bots in your chat, folks. I'm your host, Richard Hoeg. Nate's the expert.
Go to when you're in YouTube Studio, go to content. Yeah. It should be on the left hand side.
I am right there.
Then under channel content, you should see live stream. It should pick up the current live stream. Click on that current live stream, and then go to. Then that current live stream should come out, and you should see customization. And in customization, you should see chat and subscriber only chat.
Okay, let's see here. Live chat replay. Yeah. Oh, subscribers. All right, I'm gonna do that for a very short duration. See if we can head that off a little bit. So it's not a subscriber drive, folks. I'm just trying to work with buttons. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I appreciate that, Nate. I don't think I ever would have found that. I looked for like 20 minutes just in case anything happened, but I was really expecting 50 to 80 of you to join me this morning. So as always, you guys and your generosity and everything else is mind-blowing on this stuff. So I appreciate it. So Nate, what are your outside of the reason why you would say this stuff, what do you feel about the content of this statement from the Depp team?
I think the content is kind of BS. All right. The only thing they're saying to me is that she's putting on a performance, she's lying, and it's all convenient, right? They're questioning her testimony openly in the public. So to me, it seems like they're fighting the PR war, but they consider their jury the public, and that's what this story seems. This is them giving us their view of her testimony.
Yeah,
so
and
that's all I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's interesting parts here, right? Like I highlighted in red his truth, the truth, because when you get out a pronoun truth or my truth, I think it has a tendency, especially in certain quarters, to suggest that it's not the truth; it's a version of the truth. And so what they're trying to do here, this is the kind of thing I really like when you're messaging, is you say his truth, you put that in your statement. And you say, okay, we want to head off the past any negative connotations there. And you get his truth, which is designed to differentiate it from Amber, and then the truth, which rhetorically I think works. Because if it was just his truth is the same, I'd be like, well, that sounds like your story is the same more than, what is actually happening behind the scenes. So I actually like that little bit. And again, this is the kind of rhetorical stuff that I look at a lot. So I think that's a nice piece there. But I think, Nate, your point is probably better insofar as, why does this come out right now? We haven't heard anything from anybody for 4 weeks. I think that they knew Amber Heard's testimony would be, at least on its face, in a vacuum, horrifying. Right? I mean, it's heinous stuff that she's describing. And if we didn't have any other testimony, if we didn't have any other witnesses, if this was just, someone sitting down across the table from you and telling you this, your heart breaks to some extent. And we could, you could talk about performance and things like that. But as the story told, it's terrible. I think they knew that. It seems like this was probably always a plan to get out at least in the middle of Amber Heard's testimony and say, yeah, this is overwrought. Give her an Oscar. That kind of stuff. But I don't know that they knew that they'd get a return volley, at least not one like this. We have one more statement from Johnny Depp. The upcoming cross-examination from Mr. Depp's team will be most telling and will certainly highlight the many fallacies Ms. Heard has now attempted to pass off as fact throughout her convoluted testimony. And I got to tell you, when I read this, the first thing I thought is, wow, you talk about writing checks.
Oh yeah, that's a big check they wrote right there.
In the public opinion, you just said, you know what? We're going to kill it. Right? Now, LawTube does that itself. We were always like, this cross-ex is going to be, awesome or whatever. But now you have Johnny Depp's team saying, don't worry about any of this. Don't think too hard about this testimony because we're gonna kill her on cross. It's like, all right.
I think this kind of tells you, this last part that you highlighted, I think tells you why they put this out. They were afraid, they didn't want these things just to sit in a vacuum for a week and 10 days or whatever, and come back and everybody's talking about her allegations. So I think that this was just to have something out for a counter narrative, so you just didn't sit. And I think Amber's team played it well in letting the last thing people see is, here's some pictures of him being an abuser. We'll see you in 2 weeks. That's tough, and it's tough for both the court of public opinion and it's tough for the people in that trial. But they can't change anything in the trial. They couldn't change everything out here. So that's what this is about.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And they left us off at the tail end of 2015, where she has a major incident that she tells a story about. And I mean that as that's the narrative she gives. And we know, if you're a juror, that 2016 is where some real big fireworks happen. So you get those pictures, and then it's 10 days, and you're going to get, the end of the best of both worlds in Star Trek land. Because I'm still a nerd, folks. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, can't wait for that to start. Best of both. I mean, no, it's a Strange New Worlds for Star Trek. It's going to be great.
Oh, that will be. Yeah, I'm hopeful. God, Paramount. I wanted to love Picard. I don't love Picard. It's
the first season wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. And Discovery, I could never just get past season 1. When the Klingons looked so different, I was just like, this is just too much. And then it's just like, really, they changed. It changed too much from Star Trek. It wasn't Star Trek anymore at that point.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm gonna give it a try. I'm a sucker for punishment. I give everything a try. But yeah, I'm hopeful for that one. It looks like classic Trek. So Amber Heard's team responds to all this with what was at least delivered in social media circles is like a half-word document with you could still see the parser and where the grammar checker wasn't very happy with what was said and everything else. It just didn't look terribly professional. People makes it look a little bit better here, but it's still really weird to me. And we'll talk about why when we get to the end of this. But in response, a spokesperson for the 36-year-old Aquaman actress tells people, as evidenced by the statement just released, Mr. Depp's defamation claim is falling apart so rapidly that his counsel are turning from prosecutor to persecutor. They boast that Mr. Depp's story has not changed. If so, since he lost the domestic violence restraining order and he resoundingly lost the libel case in the UK, perhaps he should consider a new strategy rather than the recycled approach of attacking the victim and refusing to take responsibility for his own conduct. If Mr. Depp was truly innocent. Oh, yeah.
Before you go, you see Secret Squirrel in the chat? Secret Squirrel is the LawTube moderator of moderators. She's Kurt's moderator, my moderator. This is one of the best moderators on the platform. If you can mod Secret Squirrel, she'll take care of everything.
All right, Secret McSquirrel. On Nate's endorsement, I hand over the power. So yeah, no, I would appreciate any help anybody could give me, since I'm way out of my depth here, and we've got almost 3,000 people watching us talk about headlines and Depp versus Heard, which is pretty cool. So yes, that's the top of this, and so you already get some interesting notes. We're going to come back for this. I want to read the bulk of it. If Mr. Depp was truly innocent, why has he repeatedly apologized to Ms. Heard and promised to put the monster away for good? Heard spokesman says, adding that one of Heard's disappointments is the Pirates of the Caribbean actor's inability to distinguish fact from fiction, a malady which appears to have spread to his legal team. You're liars. Okay. That same team is so panicked, they are fighting tooth and nail to prevent compelling evidence and photos from being introduced. Small wonder Mr. Depp does not have the fortitude or courage to even look at Ms. Heard at all throughout the proceedings, as he could not in the UK trial, and instead he doodles and snickers. Mr. Depp's behavior in this trial has been as pitiful as it was in their marriage. Apparently they feel they must double down on their demonstrably losing two-part strategy, distract the jury, and demonize the victim. And then they give the summary of everything that we've seen in the trial. So, Nate, I tell you, maybe it was the parser, maybe it was the format I first saw this in. I said, no, that's a Redditor. That's somebody getting in and trying to do these various things, because there's so many weird, oddly aggressive turns of phrase here and accusations that go to both Depp and the legal team. I really did think that this didn't strike me as true. What's your view on this, just overall? And then we'll talk about some of the substance.
I think, to be honest with you, her response, I think, is appropriate for what came out.
Okay.
Right. So, and like his thing was ticky tacky, and then her response was like, "I'm gonna throw it out ticky tacky back." So it's, we'll see. I expected this to come out from it. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's not expected. It's like, what else would she put out? Like, what he's saying is, you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of the way to combat it. And I do like the framing, because it's kind of best for their client. Like, here's the way we're gonna frame this to make it seem like they're scared. They're putting this out in kind of, in this way. So it's true, right? He did have the TRO. He did have he did lose the other case. So it's a nice way of trying to throw in some facts, kind of like a testimony, right? Throwing some true facts with a lot of spin.
Yeah. Well, they're spinning like a Harlem Globetrotter on their fingertip on this. So that's interesting to me. What I noted, as someone who's watched the trial and was impressed by Johnny's case and is open-minded to Amber's case, but has some questions about how she's portraying it, is that it obviously comes from zealous advocacy, it comes from the Heard side. It doesn't appear to give much room to somebody who's kind of currently evaluating the state of affairs, right? Because the second paragraph here, to me, rings weirdly when you say essentially you're holding it against him that his story hasn't changed. That's spin, obviously, because then you start talking about strategy, which is not what he talked about. It's that my narrative hasn't changed. And for someone that's looked at this and said, to me, that leans in on saying, well, maybe you should have changed your story, when that's an open question about what Amber Heard's doing. So that's, again, not taking sides. It pushes you into a box if you're not Team Amber. And I think from a messaging and rhetoric standpoint, you don't want to do that, because this is all a public relations battle. This isn't legal.
Yeah.
And so you want to bring people over to your side rather than push them away. So, I mean, like that's one of the things I feel that's subjective. And then, then I think that they get a little, I think you said ticky tacky or something along those lines. They're using people's ignorance of the legal system against them, and ignorance there just means lack of information. It's not a negative connotation. But what the why has he repeatedly apologized in some very not terribly demonstrative evidence, and then why are they so panicked and fighting tooth and nail to prevent compelling evidence and photos from being introduced? It's like, okay, now wait a minute. We've got real hearsay issues with what you tried to introduce like 16 times yesterday or Thursday. There are real photo metadata problems. There's real stuff that's happening, and it's like, why are they even fighting us? It's like, okay, so it's an adversarial court system, and you're not doing your job in terms of introducing some of this evidence the right way. So that's the lawyer in me. That's not the same kind of subjective.
But you're 100% right, though, because look how they've done it. It's essentially it's almost like Amber wrote this, to be honest with you, because it's like her testimony, front loaded with a whole bunch of facts, TROs, this, and then there's one line of their panic because they're fighting tooth and nail. That's all. Not only all spin, it's just happens not to be true. Evidence they want in, but it just has to be be put in the proper manner, right? So would you blame you make it seem like there's something they're afraid of that you put in, but some of those statements that they objected to, they were absolutely not afraid of. It was just like, well, let's just do it to force them to jump through the appropriate hoops. So again, this is it's a nice little tactic, but it's a tactic for, like you're saying, people who are uneducated about what's actually going on in a trial. It's for people who are just looking at the headlines and just saying, oh my God, this is what Johnny Depp is doing.
Yeah. So panicked, they're using the rules of evidence against us.
Oh my God.
All right. And then the next one, to me, again, in terms of putting you in a box, like if I'm not sure on this case, this saying he can't even look at her is like, okay, but that seems a little mean-spirited if he can't look at her because he feels she's an abuser. It's and obviously their team doesn't have to go out with that. But if I'm not fully team Amber when this goes out, I look at it and say, see, this starts to look like a certain amount of bullying to me for what could be a legitimate grievance. I mean, at bare minimum, these two were bad for each other. There could be reasons to not look at each other that isn't, if you had this, we do this a lot, but if you gender reverse this and said to a woman that was claiming to be battered, you don't have the fortitude or courage to look at the other party. I mean, Jesus Christ. Right?
Yeah, this is full. Yeah, that's true. So true.
So it's, and I think you're right. I think you're putting it in the right framework, which is, it's an ordinary type response going back. But I do think both responses do what we've seen the lawyers do in this case, which is that Johnny Depp's team kind of takes Depp's chill approach a little bit. I wouldn't have written this check. I wouldn't have. I think you're setting up too much for if people aren't impressed by Ms. Vasquez coming in.
I gotta disagree with you a little bit.
Okay, all right.
I think Johnny, this is the first time I think this statement seemed emotional to me from Johnny Depp's team. This seemed like an emotional outburst. Like, read it again. It seems Johnny Depp is kind of like, everything's all cool. This seemed more emotional to me. It seemed like we got to get out because this is all BS. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think it's more emotional than Johnny. Yeah, I think it's more emotional than Johnny is represented. Maybe it's more of a spectrum type thing. I think this is emotional. This is a bit attacking. It's a performance of her life. And then Amber Heard's team comes in more attacking. Is how I would frame it, which mirrors at least some of the dynamic we've seen in the courtroom. But you're right.
Yeah, because let's say if he even said that was the performance of her life, we would say that was, he's getting a little emotional of it. He's performance of her life. She continued to grow out of convenience and detail. There's really no facts. There's no, hey, we're gonna challenge all these statements. This is really emotion. And so that's what I'm saying. I think after hearing it, because let's just be honest with you, if I was sitting there as Johnny Depp, hearing these things, which if they are lies, they are horrible lies, right? She's saying I did all this stuff to her, and if they're absolutely not true, you got to sit through all that for those 2 days, and now the jury gets to go home. So so you tell them you got to get something out there to show that this is not who I am, and this is what you get. That emotional response, him ordering them, we got to get something out to stop this, and then them putting something like this out, which I think if you read it as if somebody was saying it to you, you get that emotional flavor from it. And I think her response is that emotion being responded to.
You make a great point. I will concede this. I still think it reflects poorly on the judicial process and the seriousness with which these things should be taken. I'll concede that. But yeah, I think as you said, some of that sounds like it was written by Amber. I think that's what I was reacting to when I first saw that statement. I was like, it's just so, there's just pieces of that. Oh, they're panicking in the streets. So I'm like,
yeah, I thought so too. I was like, did Amber write?
You're so right. Like, I watched COUNSEL Vasquez yesterday. I would not have described her as panicking at really any point during that testimony. So yeah, this is like the rule follower lawyer in me, which is like, no. You can't get mad at the rules of evidence. That's designed to make sure things go smoothly.